All right, well, I would say probably prior to 1996, probably somewhere around there. Prior to that, I was only like a 200-pound guy. I was probably 211, 215 at the most. Would have come in as like a light heavyweight actually. I stayed lean all the time. I was always pretty lean, and I was an ectomorph naturally. I mean, I was a very small guy, very slight guy, skinny, scrawny in some terms, before I started lifting. So by that time, by 96, by the time I was 215 or whatever I was, 212, I had been lifting quite a while actually to put that much size on. It was a natural um, at that point for years, for 7 years or so. 7 years prior to that, I had done two little 10 milliliter bottles of Cypionate. Not much. So that's an experience I had the whole life, and I decided that I didn't really need it. I was still making really good gains as a natural, but it did probably push me over the edge a little bit. It contributed. But so fast forward 7 years, 7 additional years as a natural, and I meet Brian Weston. Now, I had been training like a typical bodybuilder of the era, which would have been like double split routines and like high volume. But here's the thing about high volume. I believe in high volume. I believe that you need to incorporate some strength specific type of heavy shit, but that's why I do it as whatever body part I'm going to do. Chest, I would prescribe that if flat bench is your thing. Yeah, I know there are some people hate the exercise, think it's terrible for your chest and shit, or for your shoulder rather, and they would rather do like some dumbbells or something, and that's totally fine if that's your thing. Me, I liked the bench because I got to where I like to push weight. So the first exercise on chest day, I'm going to do a flat bench. Rest periods are going to be longer. Weights are going to be heavier. Reps are going to be fewer, etc., etc. And then after that, the rest of the exercises on chest day are going to be all higher volume, pushing a lot of blood, many sets, higher reps, lighter weight, all that kind of shit, right? The typical shit you see me do. Leg day, it's always going to be same approach. Squat, my heavy staple compound movement, first exercise, lower reps, heavier weight, longer rest periods. Then everything after that's going to be just pushing blood, unless I pre-fatigue, which I do things a little differently now for many, many reasons. Back day, of course, is going to be deadlift, first exercise. And I incorporate my shrugs in with my deadlift because I'm a bodybuilder, not a powerlifter. And it kills two birds with one stone. And if you can grab it and pick it up, you should be able to hang on to it. And you should be able to shrug it. Your back's pretty powerful. As a bodybuilder, if you can't shrug it, your traps are behind. So you need to work anyway. Now, up until 96, I trained as a traditional type of bodybuilder. And it was a struggle for me to have gotten to the 215, 212, whatever mark. I had a decent physique, a very aesthetic physique, well-shaped, good shape, nice, muscular body, very lean, small waist, had an attractive physique, more artistic type of physique. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be huge. I wanted to be a monster. I wanted to be Mike Matarazzo. I wanted to be, one of these other guys, Kevin Levrone even at the time. I didn't want to be the little aesthetic physique guy anymore. I'd done it for a little while. I was trying to get bigger. Okay, so I meet Brian Weston, who was a powerlifter, who's a professional powerlifter, a very well-known powerlifter, 1,000-pound squatter in his day. Well, at the time I met him, he was also, natural guy, had been for a few years at that point. He wasn't competing at that time, and he hadn't set these world records yet. And he was still training as a powerlifter. That was his discipline, it was his thing, whereas mine was bodybuilding. And he had these huge legs and just a lot of density to his physique, just brutal looking muscle, roughly hewn muscle. He just, and he was fairly lean. He just looked good. So, I wanted to know how he did it. What do you do? And so we ended up training together as training partners. So I followed his lead because he knew where we were going and I didn't. So What I was doing had got me to that point, but it wasn't taking me any further. It wasn't getting me over that bump where I could put that size on that I really craved. So I followed his lead. So I remember like the first day we go out to work out, and I think it could have been chest or whatever it was. So I did his regular powerlifting workout his way, nothing additional, and that meant longer rest periods, lower volume, heavier weight, lower reps, all that shit. And then, so I said, well, we'll work out tomorrow. He said, no, we don't work out tomorrow. All right, so we didn't work out the next day. So then I said, well, we'll bet tomorrow. Now we work out tomorrow, right? This would have been the second day. He said, no, we don't work out tomorrow. I said, well, when do we work out? He goes, no, you rest and eat. We'll work out the next day. So the third day we worked out. Okay, so, he's calling the shots. So we go and do, I guess it was back that day or whatever. And he saw me stiff legging 405 for like reps. And he said, oh my God, don't do that. You're going to destroy your back doing that. And I remember that. I had a pretty decent deadlift, but I hadn't really tried to bring it up. It was just luck, stupid strong or whatever. But I had a shit squat and I had a shit bench, kind of. I mean, I was close to 300-pound bencher at the time, I guess, but nothing to write home about, right? A lot of guys can do that. So, we kept on following his routine, which meant fewer training days. It was many. I think I was training like 3 days out of, I don't know. It seemed like 8 days went by. We might have trained 3 times, or maybe 7 days we trained 3 times. I don't know. But it was a whole different kind of thing. I did that, and I started to grow. I got bigger, I got thicker, denser, and then probably by around, we knew each other for years after that. But for a while there, he went his way, he moved away, and I was living somewhere else, and I went my way. And I still, trained, incorporated a lot of things I had learned from him into my training, and that got me well on my way to getting bigger and thicker. And in the time between, he went on to set some world records, and he squatted 1,000 pounds at like 242, I think. Maybe lighter than that, maybe a class down even, I'm not sure. But the video's all over the internet. Brian Weston, 1,000-pound squat. He deadlifted 740 raw, no belt, no nothing. And that was in competition. That video's out there too. You can search for Brian Weston deadlift 740. Now, of course, at this point, he wasn't natural any longer, right? But that's a hell of a lot of weight. Anyway, I hooked back up with him after I hadn't seen him for, 2 years, a year maybe. And he introduced me to his friend, Jeff McVicker. We all went to a big meet together. It was John Perry Memorial Meet in North Carolina. And that's where I met Jeff McVicker. We did a lot of eating. And McVicker, hell of strong guy and tons of knowledge. Bench press master. He just virtuoso bench presser. His technique and approach in demand all over the place. He would go all over the place with seminars and training, teaching people how to actually, other powerlifters, how to bring their bench up. Bigger guys, smaller guys, it didn't matter. Even females. And he benched 705 at 198 in competition at the time. And that's on, you can Google that. That video's out there too. So hell of a strong guy. And for the longest period of time, the lot of us trained together. Weston and Jeff McVicker and myself and Bobby Fields and, a whole bunch of us, we all trained in the same gym. We, at one time we even all lived around each other on purposely. We were out living in a rural area and we were kind of all moved to the same area so we could be closer together. And we just hung out, trained, everything together all the time, saw each other every day. So I trained with a lot of powerlifters that were hella strong, well-known guys. And, Gene Richlack is another really awesome guy, hell of a bencher, over 1,000-pound bencher. Gene's so powerful and strong that a huge guy too. If you've never seen him in real life, then you really don't have an inkling of how big and large he actually is because he's very tall. He's just huge. But, all these guys are, capable of whatever they got to take care of, they take care of. But they're also very sweet, very good guys at heart. They have good hearts. And, like in Gene's case, I don't remember how much he benched. Maybe it was after he first benched 900 or whatever. But there for the longest time, he would set a record on the East Coast. Then Scott Mendelson out west would set a record. Then he would set a record. Then Scott would set a record for a while. There was back and forth. And at one point, I think maybe when Gene benched 900, I'm not sure what it was, but I think he was the first guy to ever bench 9. I could be wrong. My memory's not what it used to be. But a lot of people were saying, oh, well, the haters. He's a belly bencher because he's got that big belly. They're metal militia guys, and that's how they bench and so forth and so on. And, it bothered Gene. So he actually went and dropped, I don't know how much weight he lost. He dieted down and dropped weight and came back and broke his own record at a lighter body weight. So that's the kind of guy he is. I mean, that's pretty tough. I saw him one time at Mike Miller's gym, who's another legendary powerlifter, strongman who, moved into wrestling, professional wrestling later under the name of Rage. I guess that's what he's still doing now. I'm not really sure. But just an enormous, huge guy, very tall. I don't know for how many years. He was also a SWAT team guy in Philadelphia. Just an enormous guy. Great guy. I always hit it off very well with him. I have a lot of respect for the guy. I have a lot of respect for all these guys. And I saw Gene Richlack. We were all up at Mike Miller's gym, Nazareth barbell training once. And I saw Gene Richlack do a dozen pull-ups at a body weight of like, I'm going to guess 360-ish, 350-ish. Just enormous. A dozen pull-ups, good pull-ups. And he didn't have any shirt on when it was really hot in there. When he was pulling up, man, you could see nothing but knots and lumps and mountains all over his back. I mean, he had just all that muscle underneath it. They're just moving. Yeah, big, strong, powerful, powerful guy. But yeah, these guys influenced me. They're training, I used to train with them. We trained with chains and bands. And, now I didn't do their entire routine with those guys, with the boards and all that stuff. I mean, they would be training for a meet or whatever. And I would hang however long, box squats, whatever we were doing. And then, when they were doing their like ancillary type of work, their supportive type of work, some nights we would train together, or I would go off and do my bodybuilding thing, other side of the gym. I was still into bodybuilding. That was at the time when I was kind of toying with the idea that I'm going to be this pro bodybuilder now and, set the world on fire. But I was more enamored with the image of it than actually doing it. You know what I mean? I was kind of burned out on the competing thing. Always seemed anticlimactic to me. But even competing-wise, Jeff McVicker actually was challenged by a guy once that said to him, a bodybuilder that said to him, oh yeah, you got lots of strength, all the strength in the world, but you, if you dieted down, your muscle's completely different than mine. I mean, you don't have the attractive, the pretty muscle like I have. I mean, you're not a bodybuilder, blah, blah, blah. So Jeff kind of made him bet. And the very next year when the NPC Mr. Maryland State Championship came around, McVicker just entered on a whim. And he won. He entered the show, just walked in and won. Dieted down for it. And then he never did another bodybuilding show, Wasn't like it was his passion. He was just proving a point. But that's the kind of, discipline and shit these guys have, work ethic. But if it hadn't been for powerlifting aspect, me being introduced to powerlifting and all that, I don't think I would have gotten over that hump. That powerlifting took me from 212, 215, believe it or not, all the way up after that, and then of course later, I incorporated other things with it, but I drew heavily on it, heavily on it. And the biggest I ever was, I was over 300 pounds at one time. Biggest I ever was, I could turn sideways, had so much density and stuff. And it was from powerlifting. And as far as I was aware at the time, today everybody's strong. Oh, I'm stronger than you, I could outlift you, and all the haters, all the little busters. But, where were any of these clowns back when I was lifting with these guys and I was moving weight? I didn't see them then. I'm an older guy now, I'm 54 now, this year. So, not the same as I used to be. My time's come and gone for that pretty basically, although somewhere in the back of my mind, I still think, this shoulder's going to be 100% again someday, and I'm going to bench fuckload of weight again one day, but God only knows. I doubt that. Not without GH, I'm not, or I'm going to tear something all to shit. But yeah, the powerlifting thing is actually what really set me on the road to really being that huge. Surely enough, the high volume stuff has done a whole lot for my physique, but the density that I carried at one point was from all that heavy lifting. I mean, there was a time when I had a hell of a deadlift. I had a really, really good bench, and I had a respectable squat. And when I say respectable, I'm talking about the guys that I'm training with are fucking monstrous, super strong guys. So for a bodybuilder, right? I mean, the only other bodybuilder I knew that really, for real, was in there, in the trenches training like that was Al Fortney in Delaware. Another hella strong guy. So that's, I just wanted to throw that out there. I have to pay homage and respect, to the powerlifting community and powerlifting in general. If it wasn't for all these guys and me having hung with them and, and Brian Weston initially even, introducing me to the discipline of powerlifting and, the big 3 lifts and how to do them properly and all that jazz, and just introducing me to a whole other way, slow it down, more rest, right? More nutrition, more recovery. That's actually what did it. I mean, that's what really pushed me over. Now, sure enough, that's not the way I went on and continued to train later. Your training changes as you age and progress at different points and places along the way. Things may need to change. But there was a time when that was the shit for me. At my age today, I'm just incapable of it. And I remember when it first happened, the first time I realized that my production, my GH levels and who knows what else, other hormones are involved that we don't even know about or credit, were low enough or diminished enough due to age that shit was coming apart. First time I realized that was, God, I must have had 4 or 5 tears in 1 year because I wouldn't accept it. I just said, oh, it's a fluke. I mean, they were hella tears. They were tears. Shit snapping, rolling across my leg and all kinds of shit. But I kept going heavy, man. I didn't want to bite it. And then finally I had to give in. I tore a lat. And it's deformed if you know how to look at it right. You can see where it is. And I have a divot in one of my quads. If you look at it the right way, you can see that. And that's what that is all from. But it took a while to get through my head. And you know what? After that, I quit lifting for 3 years altogether. No lifting. Because I just lost my passion for it. It was a point in time where I thought, if I can't lift heavy, man, what's the point in it? So here we are today, and I'm still, to my surprise, I'm still very strong. Even training the way that I train, I'm still capable. When I'm tempted, I get close to moving some weight, and still hella strong. It's just without the GH, man, it's my connective tissue is just too in danger. It's too likely the likelihood of injury is too great. So it's not like the muscle can't still do the performance. The muscle can still move the weight. It's just that, it may not hold together. It may not stay attached. Now, why haven't I supplemented growth, at my age? I mean, it's just not that much of a priority. It's not that huge a chunk of my life, though it may seem it. There may come a time. I mean, the shoulder, it would probably help heal the shoulder. Who knows what will happen? Who knows? I doubt it, but somewhere in my back of my mind, I like to daydream that, maybe I will do that, and I'll once again get underneath the 500 pounds on a bar and be able to feel that, benching. But who the hell knows? Anyway, that's all there is. I just want to throw that out there and just say that, as an ecto, a really skinny guy, man, that heavy weight, I'm not going to deny it has its time and place, and it certainly had a profound effect on my physique. It certainly did. Now, with what I do today and the size that I have today with the higher volume, could I have gotten there without that heavy weight? I didn't do it that way, so I can't say. And I try to only tell you things I have firsthand experience with. So that was the way I did it, so that's the way that I know. All right, that's it for now. I'll catch you guys later. Hope you have a great evening.